For millions of people facing a rare disease, the wait for a treatment, for a cure, it can feel like forever, especially when treatments are so hard to come by. It's a situation that really needs some fresh thinking, some innovation, and that's what we're diving into today. AI, artificial intelligence, and how it could completely change how we treat rare diseases. We're going to unpack a really interesting approach. It's called drug repurposing. And it's where AI is helping researchers, scientists, find new uses for medicines that already exist. It's kind of like, discovering a hidden superpower in something you already have, right?
Exactly.
So instead of starting from scratch, we're taking a look in the medicine cabinet, seeing what we can find. What's the advantage of that? What's the benefit of this approach?
Well, developing a new drug is a huge undertaking. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it takes years, costs a ton of money, and there's always a risk it just won't work. But with drug repurposing, it's more like, maybe renovating an existing building.
Okay, I see what you
It's
mean.
faster, it's often cheaper, and you've already got a solid foundation there. And this is particularly helpful, really important, I'd say, for rare diseases where that traditional development process, it just doesn't work so well.
Right, it just takes too long and costs way too much. So how does AI actually fit into all of this? This is where it gets really interesting, right?
It does. It really does. AI is incredible at analyzing massive amounts of data. And we're talking mountains of medical research, patient information, even genetic data. It can find potential connections, things that would just slip past a human researcher.
Wow, so it's finding those needles in haystacks.
More than that, it's like finding a specific grain of sand on a beach.
And that grain of sand holds the key.
Exactly. That grain of sand is the breakthrough treatment.
So instead of stumbling around hoping to get lucky, AI gives us a more targeted approach.
Exactly. It uses these really complex algorithms, think of them like sets of instructions, to find the most promising leads for drug repurposing.
So it's not just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Not at all. One method, it's called deep learning, uses artificial neural networks, which are actually inspired by the human brain.
That's amazing. So it's like having a supercomputer that thinks like we do.
Kinda. Imagine a huge web with every point a piece of information. And AI looks at how they're all connected, finds patterns, predicts which drugs might work.
That's incredible.
And it's more than just looking at individual pieces of information in isolation. There's this other technique, network analysis. It helps us see how things like drugs, genes, and diseases are all related.
So it's like a map, and AI is helping us connect the dots.
It's like having a superpowered detective working tirelessly to solve the mystery of rare diseases.
And the best part is, this isn't some far-off future we're talking about, right? This is happening right now.
It is. We're already seeing AI-powered drug repurposing making real progress. Faster clinical trials, treatments that could save lives.
Wow, that's remarkable. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's look at some concrete examples of how this technology is being used. And I think this is important, how it's giving new hope to patients and families dealing with these really tough diagnoses. One area I know AI is really making a difference is in clinical trials. Those crucial steps for testing new treatments.
Yeah, and traditionally, finding the right people for a clinical trial, oh man, it can be so tough. Like trying to, fit a square peg in a round hole.
Not exactly a recipe for success, right?
Exactly. But AI is changing the game. It's actually helping us pick the patients who are most likely to benefit from a specific treatment.
So we're making sure that the right treatment is going to the right patient, increasing the chances the trial will be successful.
Exactly. This doesn't just speed up the process. It means that life-saving treatments, they can get to the people who need them much, much faster.
That's amazing to hear. Are there any specific examples of AI models that are, particularly good at dealing with rare diseases?
Oh, there are, definitely. One that's really remarkable, it's called TXGNN. What makes it stand out, what's special about it, is that it can analyze a patient's DNA, but also their individual medical history.
So it's not just looking at the symptoms, but also the underlying genetics.
Exactly. TXGNN considers both. So it can predict potential treatments, but also possible side effects.
Wow, so it's a much more personalized approach to treatment.
Yeah, you got it. It's like having a personalized medical guide, helping doctors figure out these complex cases.
And how does it stack up against other models? Is it as good as it sounds?
It's better. Studies have shown that TXGNN is much more accurate at identifying drug candidates compared to other AI models.
That's a game changer, especially for diseases that were, previously thought to be untreatable.
Absolutely. AI is giving new hope to so many patients and families. people who are grappling with rare diseases.
It's truly incredible, the progress that's being made. But with every new technology, there are always challenges. What are some of the hurdles that researchers and developers are facing as they, try to integrate AI into drug repurposing? I mean, data quality has to be a big one, right?
Absolutely, you're right on the money with that one. AI is only as good as the data it learns from. If the data is not complete or it's inaccurate or biased even, then the AI can be misleading. It can even be harmful.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we got to make sure that we're giving these systems good data, high quality stuff that represents everyone.
It's like if you were teaching a kid to read, but the book was full of mistakes, they'd learn all the wrong things.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
So how do we make sure the data used to train these AI models is, up to snuff?
Well, it's a challenge, that's for sure. We need to make sure our data collection is really strong.
Yeah.
We have to validate it, check it, and then we have to look for bias in the data. For example, if there are groups of people who are underrepresented in clinical trials, the AI models that learn from that data won't be as good for those groups.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of it that way.
We have to address those biases, make sure everyone benefits from this technology.
Absolutely. That's really important. So data quality is one. What other obstacles are there in the field?
Let's see. Regulation is a big one, for sure. Using AI in healthcare is still pretty new. There are so many questions about safety, how well it works, and the ethics of it all. For AI drug repurposing to really take off, we need clear rules, a framework that encourages innovation but also keeps patients safe.
It's that balance, right? Pushing the boundaries, but also making sure those advancements are done responsibly.
Exactly. And we can't forget about strategy. Companies can't just buy a bunch of AI tools and expect things to change overnight. They need a clear vision, a good infrastructure to support everything, and they need people who know how to use these technologies.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about how it's used, right?
Exactly. Speaking of cool new technologies, though, there's one that has the potential to be huge EE, and that's generative AI.
I've heard about this. AI that can actually create things, right?
It's wild, right? Imagine AI that can design drugs from scratch or figure out the best way to combine existing medications, all based on tons and tons of data.
So it's like an AI chemist working with
Just
researchers.
Exactly. Unlocking things we never thought possible.
That's incredible. It seems like we're at a turning point in medicine, and AI is leading the way.
We really are. And honestly, we're just getting started. As this technology gets better, who knows what we'll discover.
It's exciting and a little bit overwhelming at the same time.
It really is.
So for everyone listening, it's an exciting time to be following this. The world of AI and drug repurposing is changing so quickly. And with that change comes hope for new treatments and maybe even cures for people with rare diseases. Until next time, keep asking questions, stay curious, and remember that we can do amazing things when we combine human ingenuity with the power of AI.